Okay, today's lesson we're going to cover sense of smell or olfaction. Now, how do we get smell? We get it from our parent olfactory organs. Our organs have two parts. The first one is the olfactory epithelium, which is just another specialized form of epithelial cells like in our skin. And then we have inside, in the underlying loose connective tissue of that organ, we have olfactory glands, and they're pretty large too, and from these glands is where we get our mucus secretions. Now, going deeper into olfactory epithelium, there's three main parts of it. There's olfactory receptors, there's supporting cells, and also regenerative basal cells, which are also stem cells. Okay, now let's take a look at the diagrams so I can explain it better to you. Okay, the nasal cavity. Now, as I was telling you before, I was going to talk about the olfactory organ. This entire thing is the olfactory organ. Imagine that there's a septum dividing it, you know, like this, a septum. So one olfactory organ would be on this side, the other one would be on this side. This picture is showing you the one half of the organ. So you're seeing like the septum is cut right there, and then the organ is right around here. When air enters through the nose, it circulates. It goes like this, around, and bam, we have stimulation. What happens then is that once enough oxygen and compounds have reached the organ, where around in this spots in here, that's when the receptors start happening. The receptors will be stimulated, therefore causing... Oh, quick note first. Receptors are just really modified neurons. So once they're stimulated right around here, they'll send a signal to the olfactory bulb, which then goes to the olfactory cranial nerve. But I'll explain more in the next diagram. Man, I feel like I rambled in that last video. Alright, so here's a closer view of the organ, olfactory organ. This part right here is an actual olfactory receptor cell, while this little bulb around here is the end of it. In this end part right here, that's where you'll find odorant binding proteins. What those proteins do is that they're the chemical messengers. Once they're stimulated, they will afferently send a signal to the olfactory bulb. You know, this will lead to the olfactory bulb. Once in the olfactory bulb, it'll go through here, and up to the cranial nerve, to the actual olfactory cranial nerve. But first, why does that happen? It's because right here is a mucus, and in the mucus there are dissolved chemicals, mainly water soluble and lipid soluble chemicals. Once those have been diffused into the mucus, they will then stimulate the cilia right here, which then stimulates the receptor. It changes the permeability, and as you remember from previous chapters, when you change the permeability, an enzyme, I don't know if this is the one that works in this one, like acetylcholine, but something like that will happen, changes permeability again, an action potential occurs, and then that stimulates other reactions to happen, and bam, you either have a contraction or you have a electrical impulse being afferently sent to the brain. What's going on here is, yeah, once this is stimulated, it goes up to the nerve cell, the olfactory receptor cell, and going back on the previous chapter with the action potentials, if one cell is stimulated, then all of them have to be stimulated or no action occurs. So then I'm assuming that they will all send their information to the olfactory cranial nerve. Quick little fun fact for you. there are about 10 to 20 million of these olfactory cells in our nose, and our nose has a very tiny area, pretty much about 5 centimeters squared. And also, dogs, cats, and fishes, they can smell about 72 times stronger than we can. Sucks, doesn't it? Here's a quick view of where the olfactory bulb is. Right here. Right here. That is where the smell is going to, the final destination of it. Alright, now I'm going to cover gustatory or taste, because they're both the same thing. The way I break it up is there's two types. It deals with two types: taste receptors and taste buds. I see it like this: taste receptors are the cells of the tongue, pharynx, and larynx, and then taste buds are like the tissues, because taste receptors, when they form together, that's what forms the taste buds. Now, the whole how we taste things and everything, permeability, and other specialized little components, I'll get into with a diagram later on. But for now, there's 4 primary tastes that we have. There's sweet, salty, bitter, and sour, which, you know, pretty obvious, as you can taste. And then there's 2 additional tastes: umami and water. Umami is kind of like that meaty flavor that you can get like in chicken broths or beef stew, things like that. And water. Even though water has no taste, we still have receptors for it. And the cool thing about these receptors is that even though they all have different functions, there's no difference in the way they work or how they look. They all are pretty much structurally built the same. I'm not sure, but this section was kind of hard for me. But I finally understood it. Pretty much, hold on, right here, these little bumps around here, these are the papillae they're referring to. And here we have the taste buds. And within the taste buds we have the gustatory receptors. Now, how do we actually get the sensation of taste? Why does that happen? Well, looking closer, as we're chewing things, the food will be broken down by the saliva, the enzymes in our saliva, both through mastication and chemicals, enzymes, they'll be broken down in our mouth. Now, that broken down material will then diffuse down through the circumvallate papillae, and it'll enter our taste buds. Right here is a closer view of the taste bud. Oh wait, let me move the camera there. Yep, right there. We have a closer view of the taste bud. So what happens there is, going back to why can't I remember? Going back to permeability and everything, an enzyme will travel here, enter the taste pore. The way I see the taste pore is, it's just pretty much the synaptic cleft. It's that space between things, and that's where chemical agents and things like that enter. Once there, they will stimulate the taste hairs or the microvilli projections of the gustatory cell, change the permeability of that membrane, go into the gustatory cell, goes deeper inside there, and then bam, we got the electrical impulse being sent to the brain, CNS processes it, and voila, we have taste. Okay, the taste pathways are monitored by 3 cranial nerves. Those are the facial nerve, the glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus nerve. As you can see, they are right here, and covered up the other one. It's right there. What happens is all 3 of them are sensory afferent fibers. So they start off right here in the medulla oblongata, within a single nucleus. They will then join together at a neurosynapsis. They'll travel along, go to the thalamus, which is around in this area, and then from there they will go to their specific primary cortex, which I'll show in another video. Our taste receptors are pretty cool because we respond faster to acidic things than things that taste pleasant to us, which is why sour things, sour and bitter, we can taste it much faster and we'll react to it quicker than, say, sweet or salty. The reason being is because sour and bitter are common flavors in toxic things for our body, like acids and things like that. Things that can just damage our mucous membranes and our receptors. So our body has just genetically been programmed to respond that way, so we don't intake too much of it, because if we did, we would really hurt our receptors. Ever try to eat food with your nose covered like that, or just notice that food tastes nasty when you have a cold? It's because gustatory receptors and olfactory receptors are tied up together. They both need to be functioning properly in order for you to really enjoy food. The reason being is because your brain remembers all the sensations that you've gotten from past foods. So, say you're eating something spicy and your nose is clogged up. If you don't feel that sensation and smell it while you're eating it, even though your receptors are working perfectly fine, you just won't be able to feel it and sense it as well as if you were working correctly. Therefore, it tastes dull to you, and food is bland. So that's why it's important for things to be working all the way, all the time, in order for us to properly enjoy things. So going from the past one, medulla oblongata will be around here. The cranial nerves are in here, but they start off right here through a synapsis, travels along, goes around, and then that's where they branch off in right here. This is the gustatory cortex, where we get our taste. So that's where we know all the flavors and stuff. And right here is our olfactory cortex, where we perceive different smells and we can recollect past smells. I got bored, so this is Mr. Brain. And that's it. That covers up this lesson. The next one, I'll go into the eye, which is going to take forever. Okay, bye.